Good evening, and welcome to another exciting episode of the All In Network, bringing into you the real, the jump off, the All In Politics platform on the All In Network. Once again, we're going to be bringing you the live updates of what's going on now from a grassroots perspective. And once again, I'll be ushering you into this. My name is Walt the Damager, along with my co host.
At Rob Cooper on Instagram, not Twitter.
Oh man, yeah, bro. We got a good show tonight. I do want to welcome our guest that we have with us tonight, Don Juan Banks. Not to be confused with the older Don Juan Banks from the '90s era. This is the new reformed. How can I say it? Shock jock, because I was just on their episode the other night of Enter the Arena. It's a great platform, great editorials, great broadcast. They bring it live just like the rest of us. Very informative and editorial. Don Juan Banks do hail from a historically black college, university, Cheney to be specified in his accolades. He earned a bachelor's in science and recreation and leisure service management from Lincoln University as well, while in graduate school. Got a master's in human services for counseling. Don's currently providing therapy for Black children with disabilities in impoverished areas and is the president of the Enter Arena Breaking News Company, which cover global, local, and sports news on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to find him, type in Enter the Arena on Facebook and the like, and subscribe to Enter the Arena Breaking News for the YouTube and weekly podcast platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you, Mr. Don Juan Banks.
Thank you so much. Honor and privilege to be in All In Politics. Is just on this momentous occasion, historical. I can't wait.
Yeah, Don. Again, you have the same name as one of my mentors when I started in radio over about 35 years ago, as an intern at Power 99. The late great Don Juan Banks. So you carry a great name there, man. But we're real excited. I think we have an action-packed
Mhm.
show, like a strong half hour for us. But I want to just jump right into it. As you heard in our opening, talking about the Twitter. I'm on IG, but not Twitter. But a certain famous other fellow is not on Twitter either anymore. As of today, Twitter has permanently suspended Donald Trump's account. And I'm just going to put it right out there for quite frankly, making racist, insensitive, and I guess what the final straw was, inciting a riot, tweets that really, I think it took them over 4 years for these tech companies to recognize the danger in the words and how their platforms were using are being used and manipulated by these monsters. That Twitter platform quite frankly, helped him get elected through his Russian bots that he used on there. So it really is a great day. This is probably a bigger day than November the 3rd, to be quite honest with you, because we know the world has gone virtual, particularly since the pandemics in March. So seriously, I mean, this guy may have lost the election, but had he, one of my biggest concerns, and I know we talked about, and we'll kick this around, but one of my biggest concerns was that he still had a platform. So he didn't necessarily need to be a president to cause damage, not only to this nation, but worldwide. And that Twitter profile, Facebook took action yesterday, and along with their counter, along with their other platform, Instagram. I saw Snapchat took action on him to ban him. Twitter put a minor 12-hour ban on him, and then let him back up. Soon as they opened his mic back up, he went nuts again, and they decided to ban him. I think this is a permanent ban. So all in all, this is a great day for democracy. We still got a lot of work to do, but at least if we could shut off some of the noise, that way we could focus on really doing what we need to do, and that's really taking care of this country. And there's a lot of people right now in pain here in America, and the last thing that we need is the so-called leader instigating riots, instigating or promoting hatred, and just being just a foul human being. We have to move away from that in order for us to heal this society and where we're at right now. Don, I'm interested in hearing your perspectives on that.
I gotta agree with everything that you say, and I talk to my man Walt all the time. And what Donald Trump did is impeachable. And if it wasn't for just the time frame that he has left in office, which is 12 days at this point, I'm quite sure that he would be removed from office. And also, if it wasn't the fact that he was the president, he would have been charged already. Because we know that he's already have committed over 50 crimes while he was in the president office. He has over 300 lawsuits and 50 investigations. And this is another investigation that's being opened up on him for insurrection and sedition. And before that, that phone call when he called John Rappersberger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, that was criminal and federal and state criminal conspiracy to overturn the election.
Yeah, and I agree. And well, one of the big part of Donald Trump's behavior has been his enablers, and part of that has been primarily the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham's, the Ted Cruz's, and this other guy, this young guy Josh. I don't even want to mention his name. He's a clown. And I'm just gonna put it right out there. Because he wanted to put his name out there. Josh Harrell, he wanted to put his name out there, and now it's kind of like what Jay-Z says. Grand opening, grand closing. You know what I mean? He's on his way out. But these enablers at the Republican Party, the mainstream media, continue to make throughout the 4 years, continue to make excuses for these so-called public servants or politicians. They say, oh well, they were scared to confront him because they were scared for him to what kind of tweet he was going to say about them that may hurt them in their re-elections. So now I want to my question to the Republican Party, and I'm asking you, Walt, to kind of answer this and give me your perspective of it. Now, what are they scared of now? Because he can't tweet at them no more, and he can't crush them on Twitter. So what are they scared now to take action on this guy?
Well, just to piggyback off what Don was saying about the moves that can be made with these politicians and these Congress individuals in office, we need to draw a line in the sand. Because at the end of the day, the Constitution is the Constitution. Them going back and reiterating facts that you can't remove a sitting president because of a damn memo. A memo is not legislation. A memo is not something that was created in the articles of the Constitution, nothing that was created in the annals of time that says that a memo holds any legal bearing to removing somebody such as the volatile vagrant that was occupying the office. High crimes, misdemeanors, along with sedition, treason, anarchy, and all the like, to cause a disruption to an American way of life politically and socially. What happened yesterday could have been on a much larger scale and could have had much more ramifications than just the 4 that died. And even though the 4 that died, not taken away from those lives that were selflessly lost, it could have been worse than what it is. And there are reports that we're not even getting as far as what happened. There was some people that was pulled out of their cars. It was some people that was beat. Officer got killed with a fire extinguisher. This is reprehensible. And to say that this is America, one of the most developed nations in the world, and you had a bunch of savages run around acting like they was up in the Caucasus Mountains way back in the BC area.
Right.
And as you said, not enablers. Let's call them what they are. They're sycophants. They're clones. They're abstinent, abysmal, low theory thinking, low information gathering individuals. Because anybody that says that they're American or they're patriotic or they're for the country they're from, but you're carrying other flags inside the Capitol, you're desecrating that in which you said you're protecting. It makes no sense. So what we have to do is now we're going to look at the bourgeoisie. We're going to see that they're going to change because when Black Lives Matter did what they had to do, there was ramifications, there was death, and there was imprisonment. These people came across state lines with guns. They assaulted people on federal property, destroyed Capitol Police property. And I think we had this discussion before, even off scene. We don't know what type of foreign power could have been incorporated in that maraud that went up into the Capitol. We don't know if information was stolen. We don't know if.
Well, let me stop you there. We do know information was stolen. Both number one, two things. In the midst of all of the chaos and confusion that was going on what was it? Was it Tuesday, I believe, right? Tuesday. Tuesday when Wednesday, excuse me, Wednesday when the riots were happening or the terrorist attacks happened. During all that mess, the news came out saying that Russia actually hacked the Department of Justice.
DOJ.
Right, they did report their data system. Okay, so there was a breach there, and that was caused by Russia. Now, mind you, under the DOJ, and of course, maybe our listeners will correct us, but if I'm not mistaken, the Capitol Police, the FBI, all the federal law enforcement agencies roll up to the Department of Justice. And isn't it so funny that ironically around the same time, now I'm sure there was, I'm sure Russia had good intentions when they hacked into it, but I find it real. Is it? And I'll ask you, Don. Is it coincidence that Russia hacks into the DOJ, and then when it comes to a terrorist attack, we were significantly outmanned and ill prepared. Your law enforcement were ill prepared to fight off such attack. Do you think that was a coincidence, Don?
It was more than a coincidence. Since Donald J. Trump has even been running for office, he has been colluding with Russia. Once he got into office, he has allowed them to go through all of our intelligence. The information that they're releasing now is backdated for 4 or 5 years. With the Capitol attack, it was alerts that were given way before this happened. Donald Trump incited this, and he willfully talked about it. It was Republicans who supported him on this behavior. I heard that Capitol Police and called out that day. They knew that they didn't have enough people. But just like Walt said, if this was Black Lives Matter, if it was us out there, they would have called the National Guard, the Army, the CIA, the FBI, the Capitol Police. They would have sniped us, shot us down, and it would have been good for that to happen if it was for us. But because these were extremist people that they already knew, that was already identified by the FBI, a lot of the people who went into the building, because the door was opened by the Capitol Police, who were ill prepared, they knew who they were already and allowed them to do what they did.
I might get in some trouble with this, and I normally don't do this on my show, throw out some things that could be construed as conspiracy theories, but really this is just my thought. This is my opinion on this. I saw, Don, I saw a lot what you just said about the beefed up security and beefed up law enforcement presence when it came to Black Lives Matter as compared to what we saw with the White Lives Matter crowd who terrorized the Capitol yesterday. But what I find interesting, and my question is, I think instead of us looking at as Black folks, right, and say, oh, that's unfair, they pretty much brought a full-fledged international army, and they brought backup from Canada in when they saw that Black Lives Matter was coming here. And then when it was White Lives Matter that came in, they brought in a few rent-a-cops, to say the least. Okay, you even saw the memes on the internet making jokes of that. And I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but comparing the two, it really is. That's the best way to compare it. So here's my thought process of it. I always look at the why. I kind of go a little bit further back. So first of all, the White Lives Matter crew didn't breach nothing. The Capitol, I saw a video of the Capitol Police allowing them to come in. Say, come on in. I saw Capitol Police actually waving these clowns in.
I seen one where they moved the barrier out the way.
So let's think about this now. Let's talk real. Let's have a real serious talk for the next 15 minutes here. Okay. Now, when they got in there, and Walt, I think you and I touched on this a little earlier offline. When they got in there, okay, what did they do? They was acting like the buffoons that they thought they would. They broke a few things, broke a few guys spinning around in Nancy Pelosi's chair, who, by the way, got arrested today. They did a whole bunch of nonsense. But here's the first thing. No member of Congress or any elected official was injured. So they knew to protect that part of the perimeter. But number two, so they did all that, and then about 2-3 hours later, right? They stopped the sessions of Congress for a few hours. But 3-4 hours later, they went right back to work and finished the job. In fact, some Republicans who were on the fence or on the other side even crossed over and voted to quickly affirm the elections with for Joe Biden. So now we've moved from that piece to the Black Lives Matter, and they had all this reinforcement. They wouldn't even let Black Lives Matter to the steps. And my question is, what would have happened if Black Lives Matter was able to penetrate the perimeter like that? See, that's what people ain't talking about. Are black folks going in there, or going in there spinning around in Nancy Pelosi, if they were successful, successful in penetrating. Are the Black Lives Matter in there? They going in there, sitting in Nancy Pelosi's seat and spinning around taking selfies?
No, I think that would have been a Denmark Vesey moment.
Exactly. That's what their fear of. Their fear, and I'm just going to be straight up. Their fear if some black folks got in there, their fear was that we would never come back out. Because we going in there and we taking it over. You see that black fist behind me. Yes. So you saw what happened when we had a black man in the White House for 8 years. They went nuts. Mm-hmm. They went so crazy that the next president that they brought in was nutcase, who had the right skin complexion
and the ideology.
So what I'm trying to tell people is, instead of us taking a victim piece of that, seeing that, I say, you know what? When I look at that, I smile, because that shows the power of the black man and woman. That's how scared this country is of us. So they knew if we got in there, we ain't acting like no monkeys. We ain't scaling the walls. When we get in there, we're in there to handle some business. And I said, yes, I did. I said business, not business, business. Because all the laughing stuff is over. And so they know the deal. So I want black folks to stop taking the victim approach to this. Understand yourself how they understand you. They are scared of us. They had no fear of those clowns that walked up in there. And that's just my point on that. I love to hear Walt with your thoughts on that.
They went in there with no purpose.
Right.
Everybody that I've seen that they interviewed, they said they're taking our rights.
Right.
They're destroying the Constitution. They're doing this and doing that. And then the main thing, let me bring it down to the common molecular structure of this. The purpose was them going down there because they wanted to halt the elections. They wanted to overthrow the government and make sure that they got a recount or whatever else. Mm-hmm. They never even made it down there to get the ballots.
Right.
Their whole
Right.
purpose was to cause disruption and to go and seize whatever type of documents they wanted, rip them up, burn, whatever else. Like this is the new wave Tea Party.
Right.
We're
Yup.
going down there to
Yup.
seize stuff.
Right.
They didn't even have the opportunity to do it.
Nothing.
And when they had the
Nothing.
opportunity to do it, they didn't seize the moment.
Yeah, nothing. So the federal government
Mm-mm.
said basically, if I'm part of the White Lives Matter crew,
Yep.
y'all got played. I'm just gonna be straight up. Y'all went down there with this gangster, and they told y'all, come on in. I saw them. They waved y'all in, and
Mhm.
y'all didn't do nothing. You did exactly what they knew you was gonna do.
By
Poke
taking
out.
and take
You
selfies
poked out. You
and,
poked out.
and taking
And
selfies.
now you got your president who's about to be impeached. He got kicked off of every social media. They silenced him. All that you did, all that, and you came out of there with nothing.
Nothing.
In fact, you came out of there with less than what you had when you went in.
And the other thing to that, Rob, is they losing everything. And I'm gonna let
Yes,
Don
yeah,
piggyback off because this is what we spoke upon on his show. They lost everything. Even though
yes,
the people that you saw on TV were just the main ones they sent in subpoenas for, the technology that the Capitol building has, the
yes,
technology that's
Yeah.
around that whole perimeter can detect you by
yes.
just
Oh my
a
goodness.
small imagery.
Right,
So
right. And
because
before
you had
you
a mask on or whatever else, they have you. They know
right,
who you are.
and that's the crazy, Joel, because they didn't have any man. They was too stupid to put masks on, and actually, quiet as kept. It may turn out to be that it probably wasn't a bad idea for the government to allow them to come in like they did, because that's where they have all the facial recognitions, cameras, and all that stuff. So as soon as they came in, they know now all of you. They got 68 of you, whatever. It should be over 100 now. I don't know. But now they got all of you. And guess what? You rolled up in there, and now 68 to 100 of you instantly just became property of the federal government. How smart is that?
What's your take, Don?
And you know what? Through the research that I've been doing, the FBI had the majority of these individuals already
Yes,
in their
already
database.
on it.
The
Already
Capitol
in it.
Police knew
All
who they were. They were the main people there, and they actually was afraid of them.
yes.
And some of them, like me and Weezy talked about, Walt told me yesterday. He said the Capitol Police, they were in on it and let them in the building.
Well, that's why they fired
Yup.
that's exactly right, and that's publicly reported.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they fired the police chief, or asked for his
Yup.
resignation, of the Capitol Police. I want to be clear, not of the Metro Police of DC,
Mhm.
the Capitol Police. But let me bring that piece up. I notice how they're trying to do so. They're trying to shift blame now. Now they're trying to blame the DC police force, and the mayor from DC is strongly defending her police force, and she's like, "Nah, we ain't got no. That ain't our jurisdiction. Let that be clear. That is the district. We are the District of Columbia. The Capitol Police report to Congress, not to the mayor of the District of Columbia. So that's one thing. The other thing too is the DC National Guard. Now everybody thinks DC, even though they're not a state, operates as a state. But what I learned today is actually the DC mayor says the DC National Guards are not under her jurisdiction. She's been pushing for this, but
Mm-hmm.
they've never put them on. They are still under, I believe, the Department of Defense. So she got to go through red tape to get them in. So all this again points to the Department of Justice, which, by the way, as we mentioned, their systems was hacked by Russia. So my question is, who made the calls? Was it Putin that made the calls? He certainly had the data. He certainly had the command chains. He certainly had what do you call the chart, the organization charts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. He had everything he needed to execute. The only problem was he didn't have the right people to execute this coup. He had a
Mm.
bunch of dummies,
Exactly.
and they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Donald Trump should not be just impeached. He should be detained. Ted Cruz should not be impeached or resign. He should be arrested and detained. And Josh Howard should be arrested and detained. These guys committed treason. Let's call it what it is: domestic terrorism
and sedition.
and sedition, and they should be
Insurrection.
treated like every last one of them. So, I mean, it's crazy how we look at this, man. Um, you know, a woman went in there, lost her mind, went in there, got shot, killed. Like well, as you mentioned, a Capitol police officer was hit in the head with a
Fire
um,
extinguisher.
fire extinguisher. My question is, where's the Blue Lives Matter folks at? Where are you at?
Where are they?
And they actually, there is documentation where they said they was gonna go in there and kill cops. They was gonna go in there and hang Mike Pence. And remember too, when this thing went down in this breach, the sitting vice president and the vice president elect were both at the Capitol at the same time.
Mm.
Think about that. The sitting vice president, Mike Pence, and the vice president elect, Kamala Harris, were both in the Capitol at the time when it was breached. This is serious, America. And I'm just saying right now, there should be no mercy, none.
They should
Uh,
be
it-
treated just like the Black Lives Matter movement. They should get the same
no,
qualifications.
not the
And
same as the Black Lives. I disagree. I disagree, bro.
I'm talking about the treatment. I mean, you can stand out there and you can do peaceful protest and get hit upside the head, shot, detained,
Yeah.
not knowing when you can get out of it like that. These guys willfully went up
Hmm.
there and obstructed and did what they need, and they need
Well.
to get the equivalent and more. I'm not saying that the justification should be the same. I'm
Hmm.
saying the penalties and
Yeah.
repercussion
But
should
but
be
what is
up
the
to
penalty?
and extended.
What is the penalty for treason?
Well, back in the day, it was death by a firing squad.
Well,
If the queen was over here, she'd take to the street with her 45.
and I'll just say this. Black Lives Matter. They were fighting for rights. They weren't committing treason. Did a,
Right.
did a couple did a couple folks agitators get out of hand? Absolutely, and they should be
Been
treated
dealt
the
with
way
accordingly.
right.
Hmm.
Who were those who were there to cause trouble? But this wasn't no protest.
No.
I hate the fact I'm sorry guys for being a stickler on this, but I don't think that this and the Black Lives Matter there's
There's
nothing
no
the same
comparison.
here. No
There's no
No
comparison.
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 No.
These are federal.
No
This is federal.
comparison. Right. This is a domestic terrorist attack.
Yes.
This is on the level of 9/11. This is what we
A
should be talking
planned
about
coup.
9/11.
A,
Right.
a planned coup within its own
Right.
contents.
Right.
And Don
But
did speak on that, not to cut you
yes.
off. This
No,
was
you
one of
did.
his main, this was one of Don that's on the line now. This was
Yes.
one of his main focal points that he was speaking about on the
Right.
show the other night. So Don, if you want to touch upon that, the homegrown terrorism that's been culminating in America.
Well, the homegrown terrorism that's been culminating in America through Donald Trump and these backdoor pipelines that he has. He colluded with Russia to win the election, and if we fast forward all the way till now, he tried to cheat to win this election through Russia and other foreign countries, but they couldn't pick up the algorithms correctly. And because it was
Mhm.
more people voting with the ballots at home, he lost. And he was shocked. He's a narcissistic man that just does not believe that anything can happen to him. He thinks he's above everybody else, above the law. He has no emotion. Is a pathological, lascivious, habitual, ideological liar. And when he incited this insurrection, and it's all on tape, it's all video about this, he should be charged, like you said,
Yes,
Walt.
yes.
The
Okay.
25th Amendment, the removal of a president who's unable to discharge the power and duties of the office. That's it. It's nothing else to be said.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, and you just can't remove him from office, right?
But you can
Just for the
censure
reasons
him,
that,
Rob.
but the
But you can.
reason, no, hold on. Just for the reasons that you even said, Don, you just can't remove him from office. We have to detain him because you remove him and you put this guy on the streets. I'd say he's more dangerous on the street. They said Parler, the other I guess Twitter
Social platform.
wannabe platform,
Hmm.
already allowed him to sign up. So he has some
He
kind of
gets
communications.
extradited. He gets
Right.
extradited straight to
Uh,
prison because
right.
once he doesn't have the
Right.
title of the president, all
Right.
these
He
lawsuits,
becomes
these
a private citizen.
investigations,
That's
Yep.
right. That's right.
so he
There's
doesn't
no
go on the
way.
street. And then
No.
once you fully investigate what he did, once he's out of there, you will see the evidence of the damage that is almost irreparable when Joe Biden takes over for 4 years. This is something that's going to take not four, it's
And
going to take a
well,
decade.
and I'm gonna tell you something else too. Um, Not that I'm just throwing, not really throwing monkey wrenches and things, but probably if some of these folks, these 68 folks who got arrested, maybe 68 to 100, maybe hopefully it should be about 400. I figure it was 40,000 people there, at least 10%. That would be acceptable for me, at least 400, because I heard like in the thousands of Black Lives Matter people were arrested. But I'll say this in their defense: if I was their attorney, I would. I think any good attorney should come out and say, listen, we took orders from our president of the United States, who is
The
the
highest
what?
office of the land.
Right. He's the commander in chief. We
That's
took orders from him.
they did.
They took orders from
Hmm.
the commander in chief. He's our commander in chief. He's our elected. He's our duly elected, quote unquote, commander in chief. We took his orders. He told us to go down to the Capitol, and they're right. He's on record. He told them to do that. So I'm like, why am I going to jail for following the orders of my president? Anybody care to answer? I know I'm going hard. I know it's Friday, but let's go hard tonight.
Yeah, because I'll add on. It's written down,
Right.
and House Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, they called up
Mm-hmm.
Vice. Now this is he's supposed to be so strong right now and condemning everything. They called him up.
Mm-hmm.
He put them on hold and
For
then
25 minutes.
banged in their ear. He will not support invoking the 25th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Well,
shows you how they still protecting him even
well.
up till now because he got so much dirt on them and they got so much dirt on him and they
Mm-hmm.
still conspiring with things.
I'm gonna throw another monkey wrench on that. Mike Pence on what Mike Pence said. Okay, and his response to that. If I'm Mike Pence is like technically Mike Pence is really not an elected official, right? I mean, he was on the ballot, but really he was under Donald Trump. And then for the 25th Amendment, it has to be the cabinet. They're appointed by Trump. Okay, so they're not elected. They're not duly elected officials either. Okay, right? And I think you need a majority of that vote. Okay, so Mike Pence is probably, if I'm Mike Pence, I'm probably thinking this way. I'm playing a little devil's advocate with y'all. But Mike Pence is probably saying, well, look, the ball was in y'all court 12 months ago to this day. This was in Congress's hands to get rid of this joker. I ain't had no say in that. Y'all, Congress, y'all chose to keep this dude in office. Because if you would have impeached him, I'll be the president right now. So Mike Pence is probably saying, why is that my problem? Why is he my problem now? Y'all the ones that Congress, y'all the ones that let him off. You go back. So like Nancy Pelosi said, well, if you don't do nothing, then we gonna go take it to Congress and we're gonna introduce articles of impeach. And if I'm Mike Pence, well, you just do that. You do that. Y'all take responsibility for this. And if I'm the Democrats, you go ahead, and I heard they introduced it, or they're putting it through either today or tomorrow. The article P. The House should put the things through and then send it to the Senate and dare them not to convict him again. So, truth be told, I'm actually kind of with Pence on this. I'm saying leave it up to and put these Republicans on blast. Now you see Lindsey Graham, he out there crying. Now he had a lot to say the other night, but he's like, I don't think impeachment would be a good thing. Well, that's fine. Just go on record and vote against it then, so we know who you are.
Well, I think he only said that because he was surrounded by a bunch of his constituents saying that he's never going to be safe on these streets.
That's right. Well, that's what the Democrats need to do right there. Nah, don't let these Republicans see if Pence go ahead and do it. Pence can say, "Oh, I was pressured to do it," all that stuff. Nah, put the onuses back on these Republicans. You know what I mean? Put it on them and make them vote to remove this guy from office.
And they not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
And they're not, and that's fine. But at least we now have the official record. Now we know who the 7 senators were who voted to oppose Joe Biden's piece. Now we want to see who else wants to join, because right now life ain't too good for them right now for their vote.
Yeah, put all 25 of them.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, right. Well, wasn't it 127?
Well, that's the House of Reps. Yeah, that's the House of Reps. House of Reps is a little different, right? They're a little bit more ghetto and gangster in the House of Reps because they represent a smaller constituency. But senators, they're supposed to be what they call the upper house. I mean, these are the people who represent the states, right?
Which was 25. It should have been 25 of those guys.
Well, but that voted against whatever it is, but it shouldn't be one of them. It should be 100. It should be 100-0 when you get to the Senate, and actually, because the House, the Democrats have the majority, so we know the impeachment going just like it did earlier. I mean, as it did last year, it went through the House with flying colors. Okay, it'll go through like that as well because the Democrats have the majority there. However, the Republicans still hold the majority. That's the beautiful thing. They hold the majority in the Senate. And what you do is you send it to them and let the Republicans vote to keep him in office and then let him do something else more dangerous. And now all the blood would be right there on the Republicans' hands. I don't think that they would this go around that they would save him. I think they will vote to convict him, but we need to put them on blast right now.
Right. I'm going to go on record and say this. It's going to be another treacherous act that's performed before they push the hand. Well, and it's going to take place. It's going to take place.
Right. So and that's been well stated throughout mainstream media. The warnings are out there. You better do something with this dude now. You better do. It's funny. I was telling a friend of mine earlier. I said, "Don't worry, it'll be over in 48 hours." And she said to me on the phone. She said, "Rob, we ain't got 48 hours." And I said, "You know what? You're right.
You're absolutely right. Because if you keep sticking, poking a beast, he will erupt. And we already know that Donald Trump derives his power from not God, but Satan. And
yes, sir.
Nancy Pelosi is asking the Joint Chiefs right now.
That's right.
From preventing Donald Trump from a nuclear strike. And we already got information that he's been sending some jets over there in Iran. So he's trying to make one more move, devastating move after even the coronavirus that lost 360,000 people is raging out of control with a new strand variant that's more transmissible than the original, which they're saying. On top of that, he's still, because he cannot accept losing, even though he read off that teleprompter, he did not change how he feels. They have silenced him by banning him on Facebook and Twitter. So he has to do one more act.
That's right. That's right.
Well, let's keep this in mind too, and let's be careful about this. And I'm going to put this on record. He still owes Netanyahu his last debt. That will be his last debt paid to Israel, because they wanted to eradicate Iran and Iraq out of the Middle East and obtain Palestine and all that area around them. even after they declared they wanted to make that a state.
Wow. Wow. Well, this has been an action-packed 40 minutes of live bomb throwing. But this podcast was brought to you by the All In Network. And don't forget to head over to the allinnetwork.net to find all of our podcasts, mainly our flagship podcast, which is the All In Podcast Show with our funky dope producer, host, and founder of the All In Network, Mr. Elijah Cooper, and his co-host, Mike Batson. They will bring you up to speed on all aspects of sports. They will bring you up on fantasy sports, general sports talk, daily fantasy sports talk, sports betting, anything you want to know in the realms of sports. And they cover all the sports. They cover soccer, hockey, basketball, football playoffs are starting. So make sure you go over to allinnetwork.net. But also, if you can't get over to the website, you can also find us on conveniently on YouTube. And you just type in All In Network on YouTube, and you will find again all of our podcasts and interesting shows. But Walt, man, when they get over to YouTube, they gotta at least try to like our programs, but that ain't good enough, is it?
No, bro. Nah, not at all. What they got to do is they got to grab that device, whatever they use, whether utilizing a hand device or a laptop, tablet, whatever else. You want to grab that thing, jump up and down, do a 360-degree turn, and smash the subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe button. Also, I want you to go to IG at Rob Cooper Jr. with any show ideals, any type of information that you may have that you would like for us to discuss on All In Network. It just seems like, man, when we tape these shows on Friday nights, the topics kind of fall in our laps. But I'll be one to admit I'm a little saddened from Donald Trump being removed from Twitter, because I used to go on to his page every day, kind of like I'm old enough, to remember when newspapers used to have the little comment section. See, Don, you wouldn't know nothing about that. You're a young guy, but I'm old enough to remember the comment sections in the newspaper. And I used to, that's used to get my daily funnies with my coffee. Well, that's what Donald Trump's Twitter page used to be, just reading his comments and being in stitches. So I'm gonna miss that aspect of it. But all jokes aside, it's something that had to be done. We had to shut off communications to save our democracy. Don, it's been a pleasure having you on our show, man. And as always, man, we'll continue to. I want you to, first of all, before Walt closes some things out, why don't you go ahead and promote your show for us so that we can let people know how they can reach you and how they can get more information about your podcast.
Thank you so much. You can go on, if you go on Facebook, all you have to type in is enter the arena, and it'll pull up our like page. All you got to do is go in there and like, and then you'll see our podcast on there. And on YouTube, we're going to be creating a channel, Enter the Arena Breaking Newsroom. And that'll be up by this weekend. So you can go there and subscribe. Thank you so much for being on your show. It's amazing.
Thank you, my brother. Walt the Damager.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
As we do all this time, we always like to thank our viewers. Please subscribe. As Rob noted, the All In Politics platform is always welcome to new ideologies and ideas. If you want to talk about anything, you can, subscribe to the page, and you can type in and write your comments or whatever else. We always enjoy our guests. Don, we do want to thank you again for participating. We welcome you back at any time if you have anything that you would like to spread out this word. But, for the viewers out there, we just want you to be vigilant. We want you to be prepared. We always want you to be informed. Never should you ever let anybody dictate anything to you in which is not trustworthy or is not adequate or valid. Always prove yourself to be true and stay true to the game. And with that being said, we wish you a good night. Be well. Stay away from the coronavirus. And don't be like Donald Trump. For if you be like Donald Trump, then we will cancel you. And on that note, we bid you adieu.
Peace.
Peace.